Test, test.
Morning, sir.
Good morning. How you doing?
We got 50 seconds.
Yep. Week is New Mexico State. I don't know much about them. Thank you for being here, and thank you again for your conversations last week. We covered the parable of the rich fool last week, and from Luke the 12th chapter, the 13th through the 26th verses. And any questions left over from that several people have asked for handouts from previous sessions. That's fine. If you'll give me an email address, I'll be glad to send you any handouts that you missed if you were on travel or something and didn't get one. I have all those on my computer, and I'll be happy to send those to you. So if you just grab me after the class this morning and give me an email address, I'll send those out. So this morning we are moving forward in the book of Luke to the 15th chapter. And we're talking about probably the most well-known parable in the New Testament. And this is the parable of the prodigal son. I didn't realize until I started reading through this again that maybe it's one parable, maybe it's two parables. And we'll see kind of what you think about that as we get on into it later this morning. But the 15th chapter, we're going to start reading with the 11th verse and read through the remainder of the chapter from the book of Luke. As Jesus continued, there was a man who had two sons. The younger one said to his father, "Father, give me my share of the estate." So he divided his property between them. Not long after that, the younger son got together all that he had, set off for a distant country, and there squandered his wealth in wild living. After he had spent everything, there was a severe famine in the whole country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to a citizen of that country, who sent him to his fields to feed the pigs. He longed to fill his stomach with the pods that the pigs were eating, but no one gave him anything. When he came to his senses, he said, "How many of my father's hired men have food to spare? And here I am starving to death. I will set out and go back to my father and say to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired men.' So he got up and went to his father. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him, and he ran to his son, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. The son said to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no worthy to be called your son.' But the father said to the servants, 'Quick, bring the best robe, put it on him, put a ring on his finger, sandals on his feet. Bring the fattened calf and kill it. Let's have a feast and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found.' So they began to celebrate. Meanwhile, the older son was in the field. When he came near the house, he heard music and dancing, so he called the servants and asked him, 'What's going on?' 'Your brother has come,' he replied. 'Your father has killed the fatted calf because he has him back safe and sound.' The older brother became angry and refused to go in. So his father went out and pleaded with him. But he answered his father, 'Look, all these years I've been slaving for you, never disobeyed your orders, yet you never gave me even a young goat so I could celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours, who has squandered your property with prostitutes, comes home, you killed the fatted calf for him.' 'My son,' the father said, 'you are always with me, and everything I have is yours. But we had to celebrate and be glad because this brother of yours was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found." So kind of as an overview of this particular parable, it's kind of a picture, a story, word picture of Jesus' mission and his reception of people who stray away from what he teaches and come back to what he teaches. And it's really focused on people who repent of the sins they have committed. We're going to talk about in some details. But you know, there's three parables in this chapter of Luke. You know, if you start the parable of the lost sheep, the parable of the lost coin, and some writers say the name of this parable shouldn't be the prodigal son, it should be the parable of the lost son. So there's some common themes, I think, that are shared among all three of these parables. Now, those common themes are the possibility of being lost. And I think there are people who in this world, spiritual people, religious people, who have very strong belief that you can't be lost. It's all just good news. There's no bad news. There's no consequences for sin. There's no being lost or separated from God. It's good news. But I think this parable speaks otherwise. There is a possibility of being lost. And the second thing I think that these three parables have in common is the necessity and the desire to look for something that's lost. You ever lost anything? We have a street that has only had 9 houses on it, and Friday night everybody from our street came to our driveway and set their candy out on the table, so the trick-or-treaters would only stop at one table and wouldn't have to go up and down the whole street. Saved them some energy. But early on, I'm walking around that table and I found some glasses that somebody had laid on top of my mailbox. Surely they're looking for them. I mean, they're prescription glasses. But nobody's come back. So I guess I'll kind of start asking the neighbors, because that's about the only people that were there at the time I found them, if anybody left their glasses there. So I've lost my glasses before. I've lost my car keys. One of the greatest inventions that I had one time, I had a car that had a button on it. You could push the button and it would beep somewhere wherever the car keys were. But certainly we've lost things. And the necessity and the desire to look for something that's lost because it has meaning to us, I think not only is something we all do all the time, but it's something that's taught specifically in this particular parable. And then there's that emotion, that joy of finding what's lost. Several years ago, I guess Kristen, our oldest daughter, was probably 10 years old. And if you've ever lived and know anything about Oak Ridge, Tennessee, it was built in the 1940s, and it's 90,000 acres surrounded by a big chain link fence. It's open now. Back then it was closed and you could only get access with passes, but now it's all open. But there's still these guard roads that go around these chain link fences. And so one Sunday afternoon, we came home from church, and one Sunday afternoon, my daughter said she and a couple of her friends were going to hike the guard trail. And I said, okay, well, just be careful. I mean, it's a gravel road and not any danger on it. And so I'm sitting in the house, probably watching football or something, and the phone rings. And it's my daughter. Dad, this cell phone that my friend has is about to die. And we're lost. We don't know where we are. I can see that creek that runs by our house, and I'm going to swim across it. I said, no. Don't get in the creek. Just go back up the hill to the road that you came off of and turn left, and you'll come right in behind our house. And so I said, I'll come down there to the entrance. And I drove my car down to Mr. Hart's house, who was at the first house at the entrance to that gate, and sitting in the driveway talking to him. And here comes Kristen and those girls running. Dad, I was lost. I thought I'd never see you again. It's probably not that dramatic, but I can understand what she felt like. As a child, we get lost. And that feeling inside us of being lost and not knowing where to go or what to do, or that's alarming. That's scary. Nothing different than what you have here in this prodigal son. This is a person who had all the confidence in the world and took whatever he could get from his father and headed off and had a big time. And then all of a sudden, reality hit, and he was lost. So as we look at some of the details of this, the possibility of being lost